Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 11th of April. There is a lot to talk about this week because we're going to be having a very in-depth look, a deep dive at what is likely to happen for the rest of the year. So strap yourselves in. There's lots to discuss in terms of what's happening in the Pacific, what's happening in the Indian Ocean, what the Southern Annular Mode is doing, what the MJO is doing, and how all of that is going to come together to either bring rain or not bring rain. So let's go through it. Here we have the current situation just to kick things off. There's a cyclone over in the northwest, currently a tropical low, but this is showing that the most likely path at the moment is remaining off, just off the coast there. Some models do have it coming in as we move through next week, so that is something to keep an eye on. Also, the rainfall remains of that is certainly something to keep an eye on as well. Here, all of these colours are the flood warnings that are still current across a large part of Queensland and into northern parts of New South Wales. So still have a big flooding issue in through those parts there. You can see the radar is active now across the north here. There's not much happening in the southeast of the country. There was just a little bit of rain that came through with a cold front that slid on by. It's just brought a little bit of cloud through there. Otherwise, warm conditions do continue. Nothing much happening in the southwest at the moment, but that is about to change. Okay, so that's our current situation. Let's have a look at the daily rain potential. Now, what is causing this here is we've got a high pressure system that is out, excuse me, to the southeast there. That pushes onshore winds into the east coast. So we're seeing all of that activity just up the top there. And we're looking at, this is Wednesday the 16th. Why am I on Wednesday the 16th? Let's just pop back. Today would be Friday. Let's start with that. Here is our high pressure system that is in the southeast. We've had our cold front just slide on through. We've got all of that activity up the northern parts of the country, but a high in through here in the southeast pushes onshore winds into the east coast. There's nothing big here over the interior, no significant low pressure. There's just a very weak trough that is there. So none of that wet weather on the east coast is making it anywhere inland. Instead, those winds pick up heat and send it down into the southeast as that high moves out. Over in the southwest, there is a trough developing. So that is something to keep an eye on as we go through time. Let's have a look at the totals for the next week. So yes, Friday the 11th through to Friday the 18th is our coastal showers. We've got high pressure sitting over the southeast. That is remaining there day after day after day. I've got all of this activity happening in the southwest of the country. It tries to come into the southeast, but that high acts like a stop sign. It doesn't let those systems come through, so they end up sliding down. There may be one system that comes through next Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's a full week away. That's how long we have to wait until something can actually move through there. Meanwhile, that cyclone off the northwest coast shows a range of paths of where it can come. So remember, our AI forecast considers all of the different guidance, so you've got everything under the one umbrella. And so it shows that some have it coming in a shorter period of time, others have it waiting. But there will be a little bit of rain that comes out off the back end of that. Will that connect with this down here? That is the big question, and it is more than a week away, so there are no answers on that one yet. Nothing firm anyway, but we'll go through the weekly modelling. All right, let's go day by day. Here we have Friday, actual Friday. There's our high sitting over in the southeast. Into Saturday, the high has now moved out to the Tasman Sea. We've got this system over in the southwest there, producing lots of showers and thunderstorms. We've got all of our warmth coming into the centre, taking all of that warmth down to the southeast of the country. Cyclone just starting to develop off that northwest coast. Into Sunday, there is our cyclone, and it's moved. We've got onshore winds, we've got heat in the southeast. We've got a front trying to cross the southeast, but not really making it through. Yes, it hits the southwestern half of Tasmania, but that's about it. This system continues over in the southwest. Let's move into Monday. Again, the next high is moving out to the southeast, so there's hardly any wet weather as that cold front slides past. Again, we're setting up onshore showers for the east coast. Cyclone somewhere around here. All of the different modelling is now starting to move in different bits, so that won't be a tight thing on our AI forecast. We've still got this system over in the southwest. Heading into Tuesday, cyclone somewhere around here, starting to ease over in the southwest. This system trying to move across the bight here. Very firm, strong, high pressure, acting as a stop sign. So there's Tuesday. Let's look into Wednesday. The trough is now just here. It's really not, it's knocking on the door, but it's not able to get through yet. It doesn't have enough oomph in behind it. Cyclone somewhere out through here, or possibly have just crossed the coast there. This activity is happening in the southwest, so it's not a lot, and here is our main trough line there. Moving into Thursday, trough line still back here. It's trying to come in. It's not making it. cyclone up in the northwest, potential for rain. Is that a connection down here into the south? That is the big question. Is that going to be a source of moisture for something to come through, knock that high out of the way and deliver some wet weather? Let's watch it in action. Here we have Thursday, Friday. High pressure ridge right across the middle in through here. That tells us that there is a block. We have all of our lovely, juicy tropical moisture up in there in the north. We've got a system that is crossing the bight here in the south. Can they connect? High pressure band running in through here. That says no. As long as that high is there, it is the block. It does not allow those two to connect, so you don't get this glorious northwest cloud band and that feed of moisture coming into the southeast. Let's watch it just not do very much as it comes through. So here's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the nicest way to put it. So I've got all of that moisture up through there, but no real connection down to the southeast once again. All right, let's have a look what's happening here up in the Gulf. There is one model now. Other ones have taken it away. Some of them had it off the east coast there. Some of them had it in the Gulf. Potential for another cyclone very late in the season. It's now the 19th of April, but still definitely possible. So that is something to also keep an eye on, because that would be a new source of tropical moisture as well. Okay, so there we are by Sunday the 20th. Another big fat high. Here it is over the bight. Is it on its way out to the east? Potentially, yes. Okay, so that's the situation. Let's move through and have a look at what that means overall for next week. So this is starting on the 14th of April, so it's Monday the 14th. The week from there, we're looking at wet weather potential. Yes, we're likely to see it come down into these western parts. We've got all of that activity earlier on in the week and then next burst coming through. This is saying that by Sunday, Monday the 21st, it has not made it through to the southeast with a big oomph. So there's no big connection coming into the southeast. We saw that. It tried to make that connection. High pressure is in the way, and so it just can't follow through and come in. So this suggests that eastern parts looking drier than average. So there's no upper level atmosphere. So there's nothing there pushing what's happening on the ground to get anything out of that trough. So it's all very coastal, which is why you've got this white little area in through here. The main focus next week is over in the west, because high pressure is here and it says no. Okay, so that is next week. Here is the temperature for that. Yes, you would expect it to be incredibly above average. Melbourne may go Saturday, Sunday. I'm just going to use Melbourne as example. Not Monday, because the trough front sliding through, but then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe now even into Friday. That's like 6 days near 30 degrees. The average at this time of year is 20, so it is significantly above average, and it's a very lengthy stretch of that, as long as that high is out to the east. So all of that area is looking significantly above average for a significant period of time. We've still got activity up in the north, so it is cooler than average. We've got that activity in the southwest, so it is cooler than average there too. That's next week. Let's head into week 2. That begins on Monday, the 21st of April, so that's the last week of April there. And this is interesting. Now, we saw that in the previous week, it wasn't able to come through. Have a look at this green that is just clipping the southeast here. Have a look at the drought areas. They stretch from Adelaide and beyond right through to about Melbourne. So that entire western area in through there that's right near the coast, incredibly, incredibly dry. Is this something that might be able to push through in that last week of April? Does it head inland? At the moment, that is suggesting, at least it's not brown, but it is only in that white colour. So that's that neutral sort of colour. There is the potential that the leftover remains of all that moisture from the cyclone there could actually connect with something, but it's not likely until week 2, and it's week 2, it's a long way away, so the confidence is very, very low. But just pointing that out, that there might be something on the horizon. All right, let's have a look at the temperature profile with that one. So this is week 2, the 21st. We still have warmer than average conditions across that large southeastern part. Still got a bit of blue that is up in the north. We still have blue over in the southwest, indicating that that area is likely to see most of the wet weather. Okay, so that's week 2. Now, let's look further ahead. So I said I was going to do a deep dive and go long range here, because I know we're making a lot of decisions about what we're going to do for the year. So this is what we know. And you're going to come out the end of this going, okay, so we don't know a lot, but this is what we do actually know. All right, so here we have April. This is the Euro model, and it does it monthly for the next 7 months. So we're going to go through those here. April, we had all of our big falls over Queensland, so that's already occurred. We've got falls over in the southwest. We've got a whole lot of brown for the rest of it. It hits the southwestern parts of Tasmania and it doesn't cross because high pressure is in control. So this here, brown, 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 we're dry sowing, we've got brown, 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 and that is for the rest of April. So that's the situation as it stands now. It doesn't look like there's going to be anything amazing to finish out the month. Maybe that little connection we get in week 2, that last week of April, but confidence in that is very low. This suggesting overall it's not going to be the one that saves us. Okay, so here we have May, and there it loads, and that's May. That's a lot of brown. There's a lot of green over in the southwest corner, so the southwest might be doing quite well to begin the year, but in the southeast there's not a lot of action happening in through there. So this is the forecast for May. The Bureau's forecast is very similar. There's a lot of brown tones across the majority of the country, but particularly in the southeast, indicating that we're not likely to see any nice connection between tropical moisture and systems to the south. Let's explore why that happens. At the moment, we've got our Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO. It's over here. It used to be in the green zone. We had a big pulse move through there, delivered all of that wet weather across the north and into Queensland as well. That has now moved out over here, and it's kind of just sitting in no man's land. It is very weak at the moment. So this is not causing a lot of rain to come into the north. We might get those one or two, mainly one cyclone that comes in, but this is indicating that there's really nothing else there, particularly from the MJO, that can cause that increase in tropical moisture. This is suggesting it's just going to stay around here and be fairly weak as far out as we can see it, which is for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So that's not a big player in what's happening here. Southern annular mode. Oh, I hate this graph. Look how positive it is. So positive, you would think, yay. What that actually means is troughs and lows, which if those troughs and lows are moving a spot that brings you the rain, then yes, you get heaps of big falls there. But we have seen that high pressure is dominating those southern parts, particularly in the southeast of the country. And instead, we can't get the strong cold fronts come up. The troughs and lows aren't making it through to here because high pressure is in control. And this is showing us that this is likely to continue for the next month. So as we go into May, we're likely to remain with that positive SAM. So that's been positive for the majority of this year so far. It was positive for a long time last year as well, and it stopped those cold fronts coming through. So in the southeast, if you're near the coast, you rely on those cold fronts to get the regular rainfalls. Every couple of days, there'll be a new one come in, and it produces a bit of rain, and it moves on. If it's got a nice connection up to the tropics, then spreads it right inland. It goes the other side of the ranges and delivers nice soaking rain for them too. But without those, we can't get that regular wet weather, and so we continue with the drought. This here is not looking good. Now, we can't see any further ahead, and generally the Bureau just forecasts a neutral type thing here, but at least now they're forecasting neutral into positive because the modelling has recognised that yes, we are staying positive for the majority of the time. If this remains positive, then we struggle to get the cold fronts come in. If we've got highs dominating in the area, then we don't get the troughs and lows either. So it's a non-win-win situation. Okay, let's go sea surface temperature anomaly. Let's have a look at the Indian Ocean first of all. We used to have a big area of blue that came in through here. That was over the past month or two. That has now disappeared. We still have our yellow that is out in the box over there. So it's a very uniform looking Indian Ocean at the moment. So let's also note that there's lots and lots of warm water pretty much around the entire part of the country, so we have a good source of moisture. Let's have a look at what the forecast for this is. Here we went up when we had that blue that was off Indonesia, and now we've come back down again. The long-term forecasts are suggesting neutral on the positive side, neutral on the negative side as we're going through winter, neutral maybe heading into negative, crossing that threshold as we move into spring. That's the Bureau's forecast. There is another one here, but it's a very similar outlook, sitting in through here and going down into that as we go into the end of winter, into that one there. So the majority of models, not that many models forecast for the Indian Ocean, but the majority of them actually do have it moving across there. So that would indicate that we've got a source of moisture now. We saw all of that warm water off the northwest coast, that as the year goes on, we might get more and more of that comes through. But again, it's one part of the equation. It's the moisture part of the equation. We need the instability to turn that into rain. And that's what we don't know about because we don't have the forecasts that go that far out. Let's have a look at the other side. So we'll go back to the Pacific Ocean here. We've still got our blue in this box. It hasn't moved a lot. We haven't had a lot of the yellow come in. So we're starting to come out of La Nina, which is what we were in, and potentially go the other way. But again, we've still got all of this warm water off the Queensland coast here. So it's still a big source of moisture that we have at our fingertips. It is ready. This is the current situation there. Let's have a look at the forecast. So it went all the way out through here. We went proper neutral, just the other side of positive. And then over the past 4 weeks, it has dived back down again because that box hasn't changed very much. In fact, it's kind of gone back the other way. Most of the forecast, sorry, let's not go with most. This is the Bureau's forecast here. That has it continuing to come out and not quite crossing the Australian threshold, but going very near it as we go through through winter and into the start of spring there. So that is a drying trend, but it doesn't actually dry us out if we remain with all of this warm water off Queensland. The last El Nino that we had, we kept the warm water of Queensland, and so it didn't have a drying impact because we had our own source of moisture. That could be the case again if it goes back into that. Let's have a look at some other forecasts here. So this one here, not as simple to read as our graphs, but I'll walk you through it. Let's have a look at this one here. So that is the average of what all of the models are suggesting. It's coming out. This is only the March predictions, by the way. So the next one doesn't make it by the end of next week, but we'll have the one after that in the week after. Anyway, here is our dynamic average there. That doesn't have it heading very far north. So some of them do. The Bureau here is actually the one that is the most positive in that, just FYI. But the rest of them are down here. Some of them actually do have it moving back here towards La Nina. So the Pacific Ocean, the message to take from this one here, here's the statistical average. Where's my green? There it is, the big green one. And the dynamical average, they're very similar and they're very neutral. So it's just a very flat line thing. So the range of modelling, some of it has it moving up here, some of it actually has it moving down here. So there's no strong consensus there on which way it's going to go. And we've seen that that box hasn't really changed very much. You'd expect that to be a dynamic, evolving situation at this time of the year, and it has definitely stalled. So that is something to keep in mind there, that the forecast of us heading into El Nino from the Bureau's modelling, not the Bureau themselves, but the Bureau's modelling, are suggesting that there are other models that are saying, no, it's not going to go that way. Overall, I'd expect a very neutral impact from the Pacific this year. So there's no strong this way, no strong that way. And overall, we have our own source of moisture anyway to offset whatever that would do. Okay, so potentially enhanced source of moisture coming in from the Indian Ocean. We've got moisture from the Pacific, but potentially not getting a heap more of it. Okay, we've got our warm waters around Australia. Let's go back to the modelling. So here we have May, and things aren't looking great. Southwest, yes, but otherwise in the southeast, no. May does not look like it is going to help us out very much. Let's move into June. Starting to look a little bit different. Starting to see a bit of a theme of things coming down from the northwest, potentially connecting with those weather systems, potentially delivering some wet weather as they move through. Not overly strong, particularly from Adelaide through to Melbourne there. There are still some brown things in there, but otherwise it's white rather than brown. So that's something. All right, let's have a look. That's June. Let's head into July. That has some browns coming back through there in those southeastern parts. But let's move into August. All right, that's a lot of green on that map there. And into September, that's a lot of green in through there, and starting to get activity moving back into the Queensland, so the northern parts as well. And then into October, we've got a brown one in through there. But you can see that that was a bit of a different outlook as we went through time there. It doesn't start off very well, but it might get a little bit better as things go on, because we've got that increased moisture coming in from the northwest. Moisture, tick. Instability, that is the question. If it's a positive SAM and the highs don't get out of the way, then no, we can't turn that moisture into widespread wet weather. That's what we need to change in order for the southeast to get out of the rut that they're in at the moment. All right, let's whip around the country, and we'll start with Brisbane. Showers moving through today, mainly in the middle of the day. We've got onshore winds. That's what you would expect. Into tomorrow, that's likely to be the bigger day. So we've got 60%. So we've got 3 out of the 4 models having some wet weather in through there. 0.2, so there is still a chance you're not going to get anything at all, but that's the bigger day into Saturday. Moving into Sunday, it's mainly in the morning and then it dries up. Into Monday, just a little bit of activity. So nothing exciting happening on the east coast. We've just got onshore winds, so it delivers a little bit of wet weather in terms of showers passing through. Let's go into Sydney. Sunshine today into Saturday. Maybe something late at night into Saturday morning. It's not producing a lot here and there's not a good consensus on it. So I would suggest that it's likely to remain quite dry. That's Saturday into Sunday. Again, not a lot of activity shown on there. Into Monday. The activity may really come back Tuesday, Wednesday next week as the high moves out and really brings in. The next high looks like being further south. So that would mean that the showers that are affecting Queensland, as in the coast there, would go further south down the New South Wales coast. So Sydney would be more likely to be hit there. All right, so that's in the outlook for that one. Into Melbourne, up and down, but mainly up. So today is the break. We had the 1 day of heat yesterday. Today's the break. There is cloud in the morning. There is sunshine in the afternoon, and it's the milder conditions. But if you're in northern Victoria, it's certainly not milder at all. Now, from Saturday, we turn northerly, so that warmth comes right back down through to the coast. Temperatures jump up around 30. Lots of sunshine. Continuing on Sunday, lots of sunshine, heading into the low 30s. The change may come through late Sunday night into Monday morning, so temperatures are back down. Now, one model here, the yellow one is the Australian model. You can always see that if you open up this here, so it's the Australian model. That doesn't have an impact from that sliding front and trough, the front really. Whereas the other 3 definitely agree that it is going to make it milder in these southerly winds. So that's 3 out of 4 suggesting we'll have a dip as we move through Monday. It doesn't last into Tuesday. Temperatures rise again. Wednesday, temperatures rise. Thursday, temperatures rise. One model now has it coming through on Friday, but that is it. Look, 1, 2, 3 all continue the warmth into there and into Saturday. 1, 2 have it, then a change. This one has a change. It may be coming through around Saturday. It may need to wait until Sunday as to when that change comes in, but that makes it very interesting, at least for the Easter period. All right, heading into South Australia. Gather round. It is warm, it is sunny, and it is staying that way. So we've got Saturday in there as well. Temperatures jump up. Here's just that milder thing from the front that went past. Saturday and Sunday, it's really not much to say other than it is hot and dry. And that is the way it is staying through next week because you've got that high out to the east. There may be something that comes through at the end of the week, but it's not looking like it's delivering much in terms of wet weather. Over in the west, it's a different story. Today we've got our break. There is the change coming late tonight and lasting into Saturday, so we'll get something out of that, showers and thunderstorms, and it's mild into there. On Sunday, the next one comes up. That's Sunday into Monday. Not the huge falls around the Perth area, but we did see in our thing here. So if you head further inland, if you go to the wheat belt, looking lovely. What's that? 25 to 50 millimetres. Yes, please. Into the south, that's more around the 10 to 25 millimetre mark. Looking very, very nice if you're in the southwest of the country over the next week. One more thing before we go, just a bit of a sneak peek on some things that we have been working on here. This is coming to Jane's Weather, but also this is embedded weather solution, satellite, radar, warnings, forecast. I've sent it on Sydney and through here, so we can just click into this map and it'll open and it'll take a bit because it's in the development environment and it flashes blue, but, it does all those things. But this is, you can have a look at whatever layers you want on here. I want to have a look at what the dew point is across the country. Boom, there it is. We can see where it's really humid and where it is incredibly dry. Let's have a look at, what else do we want to have a look at here? Let's put our flood watches and warnings on. So they are, we can pan and move around and zoom in and zoom out. There's our warnings appearing. You can do anything here. You can jump over to the forecast and see how much wet weather is coming, and you can look at this day by day. And look, I've got skinnier pressure lines that look a lot nicer. So there is Friday to Saturday to Sunday to Monday. Oh, what do I want to have a look at? Actually, I want to have a look at My head is in the way. I want to look at temperature. So let's look at that one instead. How is that moving through as we move into the afternoon? So there's lots and lots of things here. This is an embedded website solution, so do get in contact with me if this is something that you would like to have on your site. It'll bring people back day after day, if not every 5 minutes, when you're watching that radar and those thunderstorms come through. Do get in contact if you want to know more. I'll see you next week. Bye.